Hey guys, Paul here, and I picked up a block plane at a garage sale for 25 cents, and I just can't pass these things up. And I love using block planes, and I own several of them. I'm not a collector though. I don't want to bring it to showroom condition. Basically, I want to restore it to a usable state. I tried this as is, really just shattering and gouging and in very rough condition. It's badly rusted, feels like there's some pitting in there. But basically what I'm going to do is show you how I go through my steps and rehab a block plane to bring it to a usable state. I put about 30 minutes of time in, not counting the time that I'm going to soak it in a solution to loosen up and dissolve the rust. But I'll probably have 30 minutes tops into getting this to a very usable state if it all goes well, and I believe that it will. So anyway, stay tuned, follow along, and let me know if you have questions.
All right, we start out with just a solution of vinegar and salt, and the vinegar alone would probably work reasonably well, but supposedly the salt kind of heats up and activates the vinegar a little bit more, and you'll see in a little bit how well this works. Then just disassembling the plane, and I'm going to put all the metal parts in the vinegar and salt solution, and then I'll add a little bit more salt as I add more vinegar, just to bring it up to the level. And it's important to use your best casserole dish for this. Your wife will be really happy with you. And just mixing it up a little bit, get that remaining salt in there. Then I found a crack in the knob, so I threw a little CA glue in there, and then just kind of lightly sanded it to kind of clean off the debris, clean it up a little bit. And then I'll throw a little coat of Danish oil on there. You could use BLO or tung oil or whatever. And then just checking back on the oxidization removal, you see within just a few minutes it's already starting to work. Those bubbles mean the rust is coming off.
All right, it's been a little over 2 days, a little over 48 hours, and normally I would just go 24 hours and that should be plenty for something like this, but I wasn't able to get to it yesterday. So as you can see, like, most of the restoration is done. This rust has it's just crumbling off of here. I'm just going to take this over to the bench and start to do a little scrubbing on it. And again, I'm not going for perfect. I'm just going for usable and not offensive looking. You can go, just keep going forever on a project like this, but I've got other things I want to spend my time on. Just want to get this good enough to make some real nice shavings. All right, I've got a set of diamond stones that work great for this on a small block plane like this. If you're using if you're cleaning up a larger plane, or if you don't have diamond stones, then just lay some sandpaper flat. I use my table saw to do that if I'm doing a bench plane or something longer than the diamond stone. But because this is shorter than the diamond stone, I'm going to just go ahead and use this. As a lubricant, I use Crud Cutter, which is a really good option. It's inexpensive, it works great. And then I'm going to just start lapping, and I'm going to check it periodically and see how I'm doing. Again, just looking for a good flattened pattern around the perimeter. All right, I spent about 7 minutes on the 600 grit. Now I switched to a 1200 grit, and I'm just going to run this for about a minute or so just to kind of clean it up a little bit more, and then we'll see how it's looking. That's the bulk of the heavy lifting that we're going to have to do on this project. Now I'll turn my attention to the iron. All right, first I'm going to just lap the back of the plain iron. Just gonna set it back, set it on its back, and I'm only worried about maybe the first inch or so, inch and a half. And I'm just gonna take some light passes. I've got the 300 grit stone on here. I just kinda wanna get this part done quickly. Yeah, we'll see how we're doing. And it's flattening in the middle, but it's doing it quickly. So I'm gonna stay with this 300 grit. All right, that's pretty good, flat enough, and I'm just going to then progress to 600 and then 1200 grit, and we'll call that good in terms of lapping the back of the iron. All right, I want to hone this iron to a 25-degree angle, which I use this jig and I set it so that it protrudes 2 inches out from the front of the jig, and then lock it into position. And that will set it to a 25-degree angle. And as you can see, I have a jig set up, one for planes and one for chisels. Now, I'm not going to hone a secondary bevel on here. I'm going to just do it all in one pass, which is generally fine, I find, for a block iron. And for a bench plane, I will hone it to a secondary bevel angle just to make it a little bit easier to resharpen it. So it's all set. I've got my 600 grit stone in here. We'll see how that goes. And I'm just going to take a few passes to see how far off I am on the angle. And I'm honing right in the middle of that angle. So that tells me that my angle is set just right. And I'm going to just continue on honing from there. All right, that looks good. I'd call that done for this grit. Then what I'm going to do is just lap the back just a little bit, just to remove any wire burr that may have formed on the underside of that. And then I'm going to move on to the next grit. All right, and that's good. That's good. That's 1200 grit. I'm going to lap the back of that, and I'll call it done. Now with the 300 grit stone on there again, I'm going to take that lever cap. I'm going to get down here at eye level, and I'm going to just eyeball it and make sure that I'm honing at the correct line. Just a few strokes. Check my work. Yep, it's good. And I can see that it was not flat. So I'm going to just continue with that a little bit. This is important because it's going to apply even pressure on the iron. All right, we're flat. I just have some dry lubricant, and I'm going to spray a little bit into the iron adjustment mechanism and get that all working really nicely. Put the knob back on. Set the iron in place and the lever cap. The lateral adjustment dialed in. Set the depth so that it's just barely protruding. All right, this is the moment of truth. This is the same board that I tested it with before I did the rehab on it. And it barely would even scratch it. So we'll see if I can take some shavings off of it now. Like butter. Taking nice thin shavings. Putting a very nice surface finish on this. apple wood. And edge treatments, that's how I normally would use a block plane as well. Just works great. Rolling a nice gentle corner over. Well, that's it. There's your 30-minute block plane rehab. It may have taken 35 minutes or so, but it turned out great and does everything I want a block plane to do, and I'm not worried about dinging it up because I spent half of a day perfecting it. So anyway, with that, thank you for watching. Hope you subscribe and come back, and let me know if you have any questions down below. Take care.